if you like betting on golf, but everyone that you back misses the cut. Get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more, 'cause it's the golf betting system, the golf betting system, it's the golf betting system podcast.
Greetings and welcome to the Golf Betting System podcast. It's episode 387. This is our 2026 Texas Children's Houston Open and Hero Indian Open Tips podcast. Barry O'Hanrahan and Paul Williams join me, Steve Bamford, to discuss this week's PGA and DP World Tour action. Good morning, gents.
Morning, guys.
Morning, guys.
This podcast is for listeners of 18 and above. Please be gamble aware. You can visit gambleaware.org for more information, and of course, please bet responsibly. Visit our world famous golf betting system website, where we have in-depth betting previews for both the Houston and Indian events. Paul has been in the stats lab pulling together this week's data. We've got Memorial Park strokes gained rankings for the Houston, detailed course form, player form and combi sheets, plus new and old predictor models for both the PGA and DP World Tour action this week. All of our content is available completely free of charge. There is no paywall. All registration required. We're available on X. Barry's at A Good Talk Golf. Paul is at Golf Betting. I'm at Bamford Golf. On Bluesky, search for Steve Bamford and Paul Williams. Subscribe to the Steve Bamford Golf YouTube channel, where this podcast is available each and every week. If you could press that subscribe button, also the like button, it would be very much appreciated. Now, we haven't got any 5-star reviews to read through. The well is dry.
Any 4
Can I
stars?
urge you, wherever you are around this great globe of ours, could you send us a 5-star review? And on the basis that we haven't got any, it'll be very, 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 very likely that will be read out next week. Right, boys, let's quickly... This is going to be a packed show, so let's move it forward quickly. Let's quickly review last week. Matt Fitzpatrick won the Valspar Championship at the Copperhead course, winning by a shot from David Lipsky. And the Hainan Classic, Paul. Let's start with that. What were your views on the Hainan Classic? I personally don't know a great deal about Jordan Gumberg.
No, I wasn't particularly close to him. I don't think he was a particularly good fit for the course last week on paper. He's not a huge hitter, so it wasn't one that tended to resonate. He's one of these high variance sorts. He's one of these players that doesn't show much, then finds a little bit of something, and then away you go. So that is his second win. He did win the SDC Championship back in 2024. But yeah, the form this season had been pretty poor. Then he found a little bit of something at the Joburg Open, finished 28th or thereabouts. So something had improved from the string of missed cuts prior to that, and then away you go. But 125 to 1. That was the price. That gives you a good indication of the chances that he had. But look, 4th off the tee, 5th tee to green, 8th approach, 6th for putting on the week. That works.
That's all rounded.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's not like Chris Gutter up winning in Phoenix with literally like 19 strokes game putting and flat on tee to green.
Yeah, that was nice, balanced, good performance, winning performance. So yeah, one of these players that you can keep an eye on and just see if you spot that spark in time to get your money on and pick him up at a decent price, because that may be his MO.
That's a decent segue actually into Copperhead. I said all through the build-up about the 50-50 split, tee to green, putting. You had to be fantastic with the putter to win at Copperhead. Fitzpatrick, 3.32 off the tee, 5.94 on approach, 2.36 around the greens, 11.62 tee to green, 0.60 with the putter. So it was 95% tee to green and 5% putting. So there you go. That just shows you how well Matt Fitzpatrick is playing from tee to green right now. Second at the Players, first at the Valspar. Question for you, gentlemen, and I know that a lot of our listeners out there will be asking or be thinking this, may have had a bet, may be thinking on having a bet. Can Matt Fitzpatrick win the Masters this year?
Can he? Well, yes, he can. He can win it. Will he win it? Is a different matter. Look, we always get back to the same kind of conversation points around the Masters, and a lot of it's about length and about whether players have got the game to tackle that course and to ultimately prevail. And I guess those numbers you just described are kind of Matt Fitzpatrick of old. So back when he started on the European tour, as it was at the time, he was a fantastic ball striker. The putting wasn't his strongest point, and he's become a very, very competent putter over the years. Interesting that his long game is in such rude health, because if you combine that with the little bit of extra power that he's got, and we've seen the work that he's done with his ball speed. I was just looking, just as you were talking, Steve, 310 off the tee he averaged at the Players, 308 just under last week at the Valspar. That is plenty long enough, I think, for the Masters.
Yeah.
It's not short, is it?
No. Well, you just see compare Matt Fitzpatrick now to what he was like 5 years ago. The guy has bulked out. He's done his hard graft in the gym, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. He's put on a bit of muscle. He's put on some swing speed, which I'm sure Barry can appreciate better than you and I, Steve, given his far superior golfing ability. And it's paying off. What do you think, Barry?
His record's really solid there without being overly spectacular. So he missed one cut in 2014, but I guess that was when he was an amateur or maybe just turned pro. And since 2016, he has made the cut every time. Best being a T7 in 2016 and a T10 in 2023. So the good... it's just about making, like we've seen with others before, it's about making that jump from those good performances to, I think there's a big distinction between being able to make a T10 there and winning it, or being in the conversation to win it. So is he, having done what he did last year, mentally, like, he must be in a great place, because he had to get his form back together to make the Ryder Cup team, made the Ryder Cup team, won the Ryder Cup, and now he's had a good start to 2026 as well. The guy's going to be in a great headspace. So he's got a new weapon going into Augusta this year versus previous years. Can he win it? Yes. Will he? Yeah, that's... I guess if we knew that, this podcast wouldn't exist and golf betting would be boring and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. What does the crystal ball say? Well... It'll be interesting. We'll do our Masters preview pod towards the back end of next week. And that will be around over the Easter weekend for listeners to get stuck into. But some of the trends that we'll go through, he does tick a few of the boxes already, just from memory. Up to 6th in the world, I've just seen. So that's a big improvement over the start of the year, and that's a testament to the performances that he's had over the last couple of weeks. But there's this narrative about players who have won in the calendar year already.
Yeah.
So often going on to be the ones that prevail at the Masters. So again, he's ticking that box as well. Plenty to like, I think, Steve.
I have my doubts on Fitzpatrick. But I tell you what, you look at the betting market and you've got the big two. Bryson has collapsed in the betting market with his 2 wins on the trot and live. I have to say, did watch the last hour of that from South Africa last week. Him and his head-to-head with Rahm. Very, very... it was great viewing, to be honest. Golf course was absolutely sopping wet. Has no links whatsoever to Augusta and what they will face there whatsoever, apart from the fact they had bent grass greens. But DeChambeau and Rahm are in absolute rude health. And then you're out to the likes of... I don't understand why Ludwig Oberg is fifth favourite. You've got Xander, you've got Tommy at 20s, and then you've got this pack of three, which I find are very interesting. Will be very, very popular. Fitzpatrick, Colin Morikawa, Cam Young. All winners so far in 2026. Of those three, I would rank them Young 1, Fitzpatrick 2, Morikawa 3. My doubts with
because Morikawa's back, or just in general?
That I just genuinely don't think he's long enough. He's the shortest of the three. The thing I struggle with Fitzpatrick is if you just look at, I always value distance to apex, height of shot shape, whatever.
Yep.
He's down at 140 on the PGA Tour this year, and you need to be looking at the data that goes back and back and back. You've got to be top, sort of at least top 80. Suggests to me that his ball flight isn't high enough.
He does hit a lot of very low drivers. I wonder if that brings his overall down. But that's to get the ball in play. So
he's got his fairway finder. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was watching a little clip the other day, and he's got 4 stock drives. So he does have a big high draw, the one he calls the bomb. But then his other ones are very much a mid-flight for his standard one. And then he has 2 really, really low ones. So, and he probably hits those quite a bit because it just gets it in play. So
he's also got
just to keep in mind about his distance to apex.
You're going for the green is mid-40s in the rankings. It's kind of fringy, okay, but you'd want it higher, really. Par 4 birdie or better, another statistic we like looking at here on the pod. He's really quite good on them, though. He's top 14. That could squeak top 10 by the turn of the tournament. So that's a good omen. So he's right on the cusp, I think, Fitzpatrick. Well, Morikawa, I just wouldn't be interested at all. I just don't think he's long enough. And that, we clearly know there's been a back problem. I'm not sure you want to be unleashing yourself at Augusta when you've had back problems and haven't played since. Because I don't think Colin Morikawa was playing the Valero next week. So those are my thoughts. But he's definitely someone that you've got to have a serious look at, Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
I won't be backing him, but I can see the case for backing him.
Yeah. Agreed.
This is way more fun. Could we just do a Masters preview pod? The rest of last week doesn't matter. It's gone. Everybody's thinking about the Masters already.
Yep.
Who even knows what tournaments are on this week? Do you guys? Did you do a preview on them? Did you make some bets?
Unfortunately, we have been preparing for this week's tournaments over the weekend and throughout Monday and placed bets, yes.
One of your comments did make me laugh about last week, Barry, that you were going to place the entire Valspar Championship on your post-it note of doom. Not just a player anymore, an entire tournament.
Well, Steve was right. It was very hard to pick players who would win it. Now, that's because we're blind idiots and we didn't follow the form that, somebody's playing really, really, really well tee to green
bleeding obvious.
is going to go around Copperhead pretty well.
Players that do well at the Players can't contend the week after, Barry. It just doesn't happen, can't happen, and they've also got to putt lights out at Valspar.
And so 84%.
Matt Fitzpatrick has wrecked the whole thing.
Yeah,
rip it up.
I think I might, every time you say one of those 11 out of 13 or kind of similar stats, I need to just have a trigger in my head to tell me, do the opposite, Barry. Yeah. Maybe 2026 is the reverse year. Maybe it's not. But we all missed the bleeding obvious, which is kind of annoying.
That brings me on to, I haven't had any additions to the Post-it Note of Doom for quite a while. And there was one player last week. He had me on the very verge of grabbing that note, getting a pen and scribbling his name on it. It wasn't Austin Smotherman. I can understand Austin. His wife was literally due to give birth at any point during the tournament, so I don't think Austin was there mentally. I don't know. Brooks Koepka wound me up. There was a point on Saturday when he was within 2 shots of the lead, and you're thinking, come on, Brooks. This is perfect. Come on. The one that really wound me up, though, last week was Jordan Spieth. Now, I'm going to read to you his performance over the last 3 holes of each round at the Valspar. Thursday, Friday and Saturday. And I know that both sets of 9 have tough finishes. So let's get that out there before I get all this hate. Round 1 on his 16th hole, double bogey. Round 1 on his 18th hole, bogey. Second round. Bearing in mind, Spieth, I think, was he 5 under through 8 or something crazy at the start?
Yep. Through 7, I'm looking at it here, yeah. He also bogeyed 13 just to if that helps drive you a bit more mad, Steve.
And then Friday, you're sitting there doing your work, and all of a sudden you're getting that chipotle flame on the leaderboard, and it's Jordan Spieth on a heater. You're like, yeah, we're off again here, boys. Round 2, his 17th hole, bogey. His 18th hole, bogey. So by the time I've got down the village club and I'm having those relaxing pints to see you into the weekend, I'm screwing again. Because, Paul, what don't we like? Players that bogey their last hole.
Oh, don't.
Round 3, Saturday, gets to the 18th. Bogey. So that's 4 bogeys and 1 double. And I'm sure I caught an interview with Jordan at the Players saying exactly the same thing. He was literally playing his rounds at TPC Sawgrass really, really well. And then he would literally explode on his last couple of holes. I'm going to have a look on that. I didn't do this pre-pod, but I'm going to have a quick look on that. Is there something mentally, a little bit of weakness there with Jordan at the moment? By the way, I haven't added him to my Post-it Note Doom.
He's avoided that.
I think that would have
you get this with players, don't you, where they can almost see the clubhouse, see the end of the round, and something.
It breaks you, Paul.
Just look, yeah,
it breaks you.
100% with you. As a punter, it's the most frustrating thing to see someone turn what was either a great round into an average round, or a round that keeps them in the tournament to one that takes them out of the tournament in the space of a hole or two, and it's just infuriating.
I've got the players' leaderboard up. Round 1, 18th hole, double bogey. Round 2, his 18th hole, which was the 9th, double bogey. Oh my God.
Do you suffer from that when you're playing, Barry? Can you almost taste that pint of Guinness as you walk it onto the 18th tee, and then it's the double that comes?
I don't make doubles; I make triples and quads. Do you know what? The rare occasion I do get in a position to be bringing home a very good round, like an outlier round. Yeah, there's the thoughts creep in, and you're like, come on, we can just get this home. And you have to just go back to, or I try anyway, just go back to like one shot at a time. And you can't think about the whole score. The score gets put together by hitting individual shots. And if they're all good enough or not bad enough, the score writes itself down. So everybody has their own mental way of dealing with it. I have no idea what it's like at that level of golf, but I can only speak from my own experience. To me, I don't know, to analogize with another sport, the guy's really good at golf, okay? Obviously showing that. But it's like a striker who hasn't had a goal in a while, and they just need one to go in off their arse to go, oh, thank God, I got the goal. So maybe he needs to have one lucky round or one round where he gets doesn't get unlucky or gets a little bit lucky just to get the round home and into the house without those late bogeys. And then it'll be like, oh, I remember how to do this. Yeah. And that's the little seed of confidence that can grow from there for him. So
it is coming, Barry. That's the point. Off the tee last week, 23rd. He was 7th for approach. He was 14th for tee to green. And he was 4th for greens in reg. No, he is playing some really good golf, Spieth. It's just this fragility at the moment at the end of rounds. It's killing him.
Listen, if he doesn't figure it out, then that's him done for golf for good. So he needs to figure it out. He was there before, back in the mid 2010s, late 2010s, and I think he'll get there. It's just that mental side of things. Look, like I texted you guys over the weekend when you raised this point. I said he'll probably be like 700 through 11 at Augusta. And it's, well, can he get it home from there, or will he?
Yeah, even first round leader bet. Is he going to get it in the house? And you're on him.
That's the thing. So I was thinking I might just back him on the exchange and try lay it off as a hedge. But then again, maybe just have the faith that he gets to Augusta and that's the place that he remembers how to get rounds home. As long as he gets past the 12th, he does have some demons there, but. I like how I've brought this back to the Masters. You see what I'm doing? The double Masters preview.
Full circle, Barry.
Yeah, exactly. Very sneaky. Listen, I want Spieth up there. You guys want Spieth up there because he is... golf tournaments are more exciting when he's there babbling away over shots. It's you don't know what's coming next, which is great.
Yep. Oh, Spieth, when he's winning tournaments, he's holding bunker shots, he's chipping in, he's making 50-footers, and that's what makes him an exciting player to watch. And I expect those kind of things are what you're describing, Barry. Those, the ends to the round where he does hold a bunker shot, he does chip in, and that just changes the mentality or the thought process moving
exactly
forward.
Yeah, he could have like a bunker shot for a par, and he's just somehow makes it, and he's staring double in the face, and he goes, "Oh, okay." Yeah, right. Here, off we go then. Yeah. So it's, but look, sometimes the journey about getting there is almost as fascinating as when he gets there. So it is frustrating if you have money on him, like poor Steve did. But for everybody else, it's watching one of the great golfers get himself back to fully fixed model.
Yep.
It's funny with him and JT. They're in kind of similar. Well, JT's got an injury funk, and clearly Jordan did have an injury funk with the wrist last year. It might surprise listeners. He's actually 59th in the world now, Jordan Spieth. He was as low as of Phoenix as 90th. So there is momentum. But, someone that you thought was like top 10 elite and clearly one of the best player in the world many, many years ago, to be 59th in the world, bit of a funk. That takes me on to Houston because we've got to play a fight. Just flop. Go on. Sorry.
Context. Just because you're embracing the new data golf kind of model as well, Steve. He's 29th there, so that does kind of tell you that there's a lot of recent stuff going very, very well for him, but not perfect yet.
Well, it tells you what he's saying, actually, in interviews. It feels so much better than he's producing. He's just not scoring well enough. But the strokes gained data is fantastic. But clearly, the results are yet to catch up. And it's these bogeys and doubles at the end of rounds that's killing him. But that is going to clear. So, anyway, to cut the story to the end, I haven't put him on the post-it note of doom.
He's on a warning.
I need to for new listeners. I need to go through the list at some stage just to clearly Russell Henley's at the top of it.
Poor Jordan just needs some penicillin just to get him through the end of the round, just to clear up.
He needs something. Right, let's talk Houston Open. We've finally left Florida, chaps. There's not a lot of water on this course. Hooray! We've got a different view this week. We've got Texas Memorial Park Golf Course for the Houston Open. Next week they play TPC San Antonio. I think it's the AT&T Oaks course for the Valero. As Barry said, no one will care a jot. Everyone will be thinking of the Masters next week. But we have PGA Tour action. The field this week is decent. Scotty Scheffler was a late entry. Below him, I've done this in alphabetical order. Jason Day, Ricky Fowler. Now, Fowler is fighting for a Masters invite this week. I think I might be wrong. I believe he's 55th in the world. And top 50 getting after Sunday. Am I right, Paul?
There's certainly another cut-off, yeah.
He's 61st.
Yeah.
Big week.
It's a big week for him.
He probably needs probably needs a top 5, top 4.
In that bracket.
Yeah. In the same boat, Pearson Coody. He's 51st. Rasmus is already in, Højgaard. Michael Kim's in. Falamaki's in. Teal Bjornson's in the same boat. Thomas Dietrich missed out by a place last week, apparently. You've got you've got Ricky Fowler. Those are it's Fowler really and Coody who are fighting hard for their spot. You can add Nikolai Højgaard to that as well. He started the year at 77th. He's currently 47th in the world. So if he stays in that top 50 by the close of this week, he gets a Masters invite. Matt McCarty as well, although he's at 44th. I can't see him slipping 6 spots. And Jake Knapp's at 42. Can't see him slipping 8 spots either. So really, Nikolai Højgaard, Pearson Coody, who is quite well rounded for this week, and you've got Ricky Fowler. If Ricky doesn't get in, he then has to win the Valero Texas Open next week. That's how it works. Right, Memorial Park. We have got a different golf course this week compared to all of this water that we've been seeing. Okay, four of the holes do have water. 14 don't. It's a John Breedemus original with a Tom Doak renovation in 2019. Brooks Koepka, who plays this week. Oh, I didn't go through the full list. Fox, Gerard, Gotterup. Very well suited to this golf course, Chris Gotterup. Ben Griffin, Brooks Koepka. Shane Lowry's added it to his schedule. Trying to get rid of these demons, I expect, from PGA National. And also Min Woo Lee, who defends his title from last year. Tom Doak renovation. It's long, 7,475 yards. Although in modern day golf, I suppose that isn't crazily long, but it is a par 70. Bermuda grass, it's punchy, yeah. It's a lot of long irons. Also sort of long approaches on par 5. So one of the stats I would look at is anyone that's got a decent set of numbers from like 200 yards and over in terms of proximity or greens in reg, something along those lines. This golf course, they can get it to be very quick in terms of its turf conditions. They try and get it set up a little bit like Augusta. I know that people say that and it annoys everyone because you can't make it like Augusta. But it's very short rough, 1.25 inches. They try and get the fairway speeds and the actual stimp firm and fast if they can. And they've also built this course, so there's hardly any sand bunkers, 24. The greens are raised, and they have very closely mown surrounds to them. So you're getting lots of shots that hit the greens, if they're not the right pace or dropping the right rate, they will run off those greens. So you're getting a lot of Augusta-like chips from tight mown grass. That didn't happen last year, and Min Woo Lee destroyed a very soft golf course at 20 under par. This year, there's been quite a lot of rain in the build-up, but I'm not seeing any rain during the tournament at all. Jaeger won at 12 under, Finau at 16s. I think it's going to be that kind of score. It's going to be like a mid-score, not 20s. There isn't much wind. I know we're in Texas and you normally get a howling wind. From the forecast, there's not a lot of wind. I reckon 14, 15 under might win it. Good warm-up. It is a good warm-up for Augusta, has to be said. So I'm categorising it as mid-score. It's a long golf course. The agronomy for us agronomy geeks. 419 Bermuda grass overseeded with perennial rye on the fairways. The rough is 419 Bermuda grass overseeded with perennial rye grass. As I said, it's very soft, very short. The greens are 7,000 square feet on average. They are large. They feature Mini Verde Bermuda, one we haven't had so far this year. Overseeded yet again with Poa Trivialis. I mean, we're having that week after week after week after week. The key feature here is, though, chaps, they categorise this. The course superintendent says that the average width of fairways is 30 to 40 yards. And I know for a fact that when you go through the course, there are certain fairways here where it's 75 yards wide and we are dealing with rough Bermuda grass that just isn't any penalty at all. And that tells you what you need around here. It is literally bombs away. Hit the ball as far as you can. It doesn't really matter where it goes because there's just some kind of dead Bermuda grass off the fairways, and just get the ball as close as you can to those greens off the tee. It's an absolute bomber's paradise. Just comparing that to Cophead last week, the average fairway width was 20 yards wide. And Sawgrass 28 yards wide. So you're going to get guys here that literally are teeing it up and they are licking their chops. So for me, driving distance, height to apex, ball speed, club head speed, whatever you can, it's really, really bringing quite a small group of players into play here, pure bombers. Although I genuinely think that rather than like looking at Johnny, I might be urinating on people's strawberries here, but rather than looking at someone like Johnny Kiefer, who literally hits it a mile and then the rest of his game isn't great, if you can find a bomber that can putt or a bomber that's great around the greens and isn't great with their approaches, that's not... You need length, but you need another top quality skill set to really contend here. I mean, you look at Min Woo Lee last year, great driver, we know that. Long, aggressive. Tony Finau's won around here, for Lord's sake. But if you look at the strokes gained per course, I've been doing some more work on this. Houston, per round, 0.38 off the tee, 1.04 on approach, 0.42 around the greens. So you're almost having to gain half a shot around the greens with your around the green game. You know, someone like Johnny Kiefer that's losing 3.5 per round isn't really going to cut the mustard here. Because when your ball runs off the greens here, these chips are awkward. Tee to green 1.83. This is the scary thing. It's exactly the same as Valspar last week. They're actually the winners over the last 5 years around here have gained more with the putter than they have from tee to green. So I did say last week Valspar's an absolute disaster to try and categorise who's going to win that, and clearly Matt Fitzpatrick won, who was probably the most obvious winner of the lot. This week, Yeah, I know. This week, it's kind of tee to green isn't that important, but putting is. So I don't know. I know last year you looked at Minwoo Lee. He was basically great from tee to green heading in, but also he was in the top 7 in my rankings for putting. It was that obvious, and he won at 45-1. So I've kind of tried to find powerful players who are doing well from tee to green and around the green at the moment, and hopefully are either good putters or they've got a history of spike putting on the right courses. What I'm suggesting is I don't think this is a course for a David Lipsky sort that bangs it 285 off the tee and his game's all about approach play and half decent putting. I mean, I'm not suggesting he can't get close to the top of a leaderboard, but I don't think ultimately he's going to win. Should we mention some players? Have you got any? Am I barking up the right tree with all this, or am I completely sort of away from the fairies?
I think the narrative is and generally has been on this course that length is the be all and end all. I'm just a little wary that as punters everyone gets drawn on the same narrative in these weeks, and then someone like a Brian Campbell comes along and upsets it all. But yes, can you find that contrarian player if that is to be the case? Not sure. It does. It certainly sets up well for the longer hitters. So yeah, let's see where it takes us.
I have got 6. I think what needs to be borne in mind this week, I'm just pulling up the odds board. I think what does need to bear in mind is there is quite a huge drop off from Scheffler to Gotterup, and then from Gotterup down. There's a big gap in ability, I think. I mean, Minwoo Lee's been backed off the boards. I mean, he's as short as 14-1. That's just crazy. I mean, Gotterup's a top 10 player. I suppose, again, strokes gained rankings and the like, Gotterup and Lee would be fairly close. Koepka's playing. He clearly had a hand in the course design. Kitayama's an interesting name because he does a lot of what we're looking for. Fowler's not the shortest off the tee. He's clearly got huge motivation this week. But does Ricky actually win, or does he kind of finish T3? And everyone's so happy that he's squeaked into 49th spot on the world rankings and he's in to Augusta. Yeah, can kind of see that. Burns is powerful. Nikolai Højgaard. Both the Højgaards are absolute beasts off the tee. Scott's in great nick at 40-1. So there's a lot of different players. I mean, Harris English is playing. I came down on these guys. What I'm saying is it might be a hold your nose job from a price perspective this week. I would have liked a lot more on the players that I picked, but I think a lot of it is the depth of the field. My top selection has gained 1.9 strokes per round since the start of 2026. That is second in this field only to Scotty Scheffler. He had 2 bad rounds at the Players, missed the cut. The week before that, he burned literally half of the betting and DraftKings community by WDing with illness at the API after the tournament had started. I think this golf course is perfect for Jake Knapp. So I took 2 points each way, 22-1 with Bet365, 8 places each way on Jake Knapp. 5 top 11 finishes, including 5th at the top at Torrey Pines, 8th at Scottsdale, 8th at Pebble Beach, 6th at Riviera. There's a whole list there. Well, there's 2. Signature level events. This is a definite grade down. I just think he's a bomber that can putt lights out. So I'm on Knapp at 22-1. Before the podcast, I also lamented, and I don't know if I mentioned his name last week or may have mentioned his name, but he was a player that hadn't been playing great, was getting used to playing on the PGA Tour based upon the fact he was a DP World Tour stalwart who won 3 times last year, has resettled his family in Florida, then has the addition of baby boy Romeo. But he made the mistake of contending at the Valspar. He was 100-1 for the Valspar last week. He's now 25-1 and with some firms for this week. But I genuinely think that this golf course is also perfect for Marco Penge. I've gone 2 points each way, 25-1. Again, with Bet365, 8 places each way via their each way extra facility. Long off the tee, played nicely from tee to green, 16th at Riviera. So he's starting to round into form. Could see Penge going exceptionally close again this week. So those are my 2 right at the top. Penge and Knapp. My next selection is 33-1, and then I'm out to 70s and above. Paul, where are you chipping in this week?
Well, I've got a couple in that kind of bracket you've just described. So I have also backed Marco Penge this week. We've been waiting for an appropriate event to back him in, and as you described, we've seen what kind of a player he is. He was outstanding on the DP World Tour last year. As you said, he's just become a father recently. 4th last week on a course where the fairways were really narrow. Yeah, and his strokes game off the tee game was right on point last week, and he's come into a course where the fairways are 50, in some cases 100% the size, the width than they were last week. Rough down. It should be absolutely perfect for him to have a serious attempt at grabbing this PGA Tour title that we think he can get. He gained nearly a stroke per day on the greens last week. So if that's combined with any other level of performance with the rest of his game, then I think he's going to go close. The price has been decimated, as you say, but I think that's because he genuinely has a chance of winning this golf tournament.
I don't think bookmakers want you to back him. It's one of those, literally, come on, I dare you to back him at this ridiculously short price.
Yeah, to try and put you off, a bit of cat and mouse. But yeah, like Penge I've back. The other one I've stuck with Brooks Koepka from last week. As you said, he's had a hand in the design here. Yeah, 28-1 I thought was fair. Decent enough form coming into this, 9th at the Cognizant, 13th players, 18th last week. As you said, he was kind of a little up and down. He was flirting with the top of that leaderboard at various points without really pushing on. But
he's calibrating, Paul. He's calibrating. He's getting there.
Yeah. I think you could be right. And his strokes gain approach game has been really good over the last couple of starts. 4th and 3rd. 5th here on debut back in 2020. Lots to like, and to your point from last week, I think he would dearly love to get that win in a regular PGA Tour tournament back under his belt and push forward from there. And where better to do it than a course where he does have his name as part of the structure, I guess.
Needs to find a putter though, doesn't he? It's the one thing I'm looking at here. Just it's killing his scrambling, so that's going to hurt him a bit this week if the putter doesn't get going a little warmer than it has been. So, but if the long game stays where it is and he can just find another half a stroke or a stroke per round of the putter, which is asking quite a lot, but it's there then in that situation.
It's interesting seeing Brooks Koepka play tracks that Brooks Koepka ordinarily wouldn't play and won't play in the future, like Cophead, because he won't need to, because he can just rely on signature level events. But he said yesterday, I think it was on Saturday, he might have even said it on both days, he just doesn't know what way the driver's going. Now that doesn't matter here. That's the whole point. Paul's right. It doesn't matter here. He can just rip away, and you got target ears of 80 yards when you throw in like this ridiculously short rough that isn't really a penalty. It isn't a factor. And his approach play at the moment is literally pristine. 20th for strokes gained on approach at Cognizant, 4th at the Players, 3rd at the Valspar. You are going to get players this week that literally reappear because they couldn't cope with Florida golf and all the water. I think Koepka, I might regret this because clearly I am a Brooks Koepka fan. But he's a great shout for this week. He does, and Barry is correct, he does need to find the putter. There are signs. He was top 15 at the Cognizant and he was top 25 last week. So it isn't stone cold as it was at the very start of the year. But yeah. There's a load of... there's so many long players. Like Michael Brennan's another one I had a good look at. But he's literally losing 2 strokes per round on the greens. And consistently. And you just think, is he really going to turn 2 strokes per round negative into 10 strokes positive in a week? It can happen, of course, but... yeah. It's an interesting puzzle this week. But I wouldn't put people off Brooks Koepka at all, because you just know that actually, if he's in the lead and he's up against Michael Thorbjornsen in the final group, in all likelihood, Thorbjornsen is going to collapse and Brooks Koepka is going to grind out his first PGA Tour win of the year.
Yeah,
and a very significant one in terms of his career. Anyway, I've gone for Michael Thorbjornsen. So, 1.5 points each way, 33 to 1 with Bet365, 8 places each way again. He's absolutely struggling like hell on Sundays, but you cannot say that he isn't peaking. His game is coming. He's starting to become slightly more comfortable on Sundays, but he was 3rd in Japan, 7th at Sea Island, and I know he was in the last group on Sunday. Mucked that one up. He was also 3rd at TPC Scottsdale. He had a chance to win that. Clearly, I won't mention Matsuyama. Throwing that one away, Paul.
Thanks.
He's powerful. He's long. He's creative enough around the greens. He gains strokes putting, but it isn't spiky as such. But he isn't a bad putter. He's not crazy long, but he's long enough. He's not crazy sort of top 10 ball at apex to height and all these kind of stats, but he does everything well enough. And I can just remember over the years, Sam Burns won this after going out in the final group at the Players. He came out at the Valspar and won the week after. There is just some history where players throw away a really good position at Sawgrass and then pretty imminently after win. I mean, even John Rahm did that in 2019. He threw away final group at Players and then won the Masters. I wouldn't be... It's one of those that it would kill you that you miss Thorbjorn's first PGA Tour victory because he played really crap on his final round at the Players. Well, actually, I think he's pretty well suited to this golf course. So I'm on Thorbjornsen at 33 to 1. 1.5 points each way with Bet365. Barry, where are you? Because I'm out now on 75 to 1, 80 and triple digit prices.
This is a
Are you on the Ricky train? Are you on the Ricky train?
No, come on.
Come on, Barry, come on. Are you on the Woodland train?
No. Steve, how often does a guy who needs to get top 4 or top 3 to get into the Masters or to get into the top 50 go on and win a tournament? It just doesn't happen because their ceiling is the position they need to get to for the week mentally. So I think Ricky's capped as to how high he can go this week. I'm going with Jake Knapp, and I'm going to stick with Koepka, but I've got FOMO on Penge, so it's a weird one. The only reason I stayed away from Penge was that he hasn't played the course before. So, but I'm not sure if that's maybe.
I mean, Minwoo Lee hadn't played it last year and he won, so that kind of took that away from me.
I don't know if it's that big a factor, but I needed to come up with something to knock back all three of them.
What did you say pre-pod, Barry? Forget about trends. Just go with the flow.
But you know what? What I might do, I placed one bet so far that was on Keith Mitchell. We can get to that in a bit. But what I might do is Kashmir Keith. He bombs it off the tee.
Yeah, he does.
And there's a lot of space there for the errant ones that do happen. So we could get away with it this week. What I might do for my betting strategy is just forget each way on the three lads and just back Knapp, Koepka and Penge on the exchange. Win only. See you later. Win or bust.
Yeah, get that.
Yeah. You can always trade it, potentially.
I would much rather hold my position and risk being wrong than lose equity. I hate. I have this horrible inability to lay off bets.
You're no trader, are you?
I am not a trader, but
You're
then
a
again, maybe I'm not betting enough to make the equity big enough that the cash out at, let's say, 1.6 or 1.8 is a number I'm actually okay with taking. So that could be that my flaw could be in my strategy from the very beginning. We'll have to. I know I've years of bad systems in play to try beat. So
I think if you get a significantly better price on the exchange, then there's a game to play right from the outset. So if the player is 33 to 1 and you manage to get close to 50 on the exchange, which can happen, does happen, then if you've already made your mind up that I'm going to lay it so that I'm going to win at 33 to 1, that is his general price, and just set the layup before you go and just forget about it.
But when he gets to that, 1.33, 1.4, he's very likely to win the thing anyway. So I feel like when it gets to that, I feel like I'm just
cancel that lay.
I'm just giving away like that 40% of the total win equity, or 35 or whatever it is. That's the thing, because unless they're a supreme elite golfer like a Scheffler, a McIlroy, Rahm, or DeChambeau, they're not going to get to that 1.4 unless it is, like, excuse this for the drive-by, Shane Lowry obvious that you're going to win the tournament, like 96% obvious, and then you go and lose it. So it's hard for your player to get to 1.4 on the exchange without them pretty much already being on the top of the podium with the trophy.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's where it kills me. So maybe back the more elite players in the exchange, or again, just stick with my strategy, and then I could just scream from the top of the building that I was right, and I didn't give up any equity to some other punter on the end of the Betfair exchange.
Yeah. It's all about being right, Barry.
It really is. It's not about the money.
Can I just say, if you've got time, send us a 5-star review. We haven't got any for next week. Also, hit that like button on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. I'm into 75 to 1. I know this guy's had kidney stones. I'm basically backing this blind because his price was too big for me. He's all over my strokes gained 8-week analysis. He's been playing some really nice stuff. Let's just hope that he turns up, he's ready to go. I mean, he's still in the field. He hasn't withdrawn. Ryan Fox. He was 15th here 12 months ago, and he went out in the final group with Minwoo Lee and Alejandro Tosti. Forget trends, forget about being sensible. This is where we're at, Barry, isn't it? Try and just, forget about that. Fox, he's in. 75 to 1. I've got Bet365 8 places on Ryan Fox. Hits it a mile. The other one that I like has got no form. He rarely has form. He is so yin and yang. He's so black and white. He's either awful or contends. All depends on the golf course. But one thing you can say about him is it's always on courses where it's a bomber's course. Aldridge Potgieter. I got 80-1 with Betfred, 8 places each way on the big hitting South African Aldridge Potgieter. Fancy that? I could see you backing Potgieter, Barry. That's your kind of punt.
Fine. This is what, look, like, I've just got roped into like 5 bets this week. This is
Are you joining the Potgieter train as it collapses with that inevitable miscut off the bridge?
But see, how I'll deal with this is just, I might just throw a little 5 random on the exchange, and that's it. So this is win only week.
He was, clearly, missed the cut of the API. I mean, if you want a golf course that isn't Aldridge Potgieter, take him to Sawgrass. But then the outing before that, he was 5th at the Genesis Invitational at Riviera Country Club, a golf course where the longer you hit it, the better. And he's still in the hunt. You know, it's President's Cup year. You look at the rankings, he's still in the top 15 for qualification for the President's Cup international team. So I could see Potgieter just popping up and going, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't got a penny on Potgieter. He has ridiculous power off the tee. Approach play here isn't that vital. And he has a very, very, very spiky putting game that when it connects, he's literally spike putting. So Potgieter for me, 80-1. Betfred, 8 places each way.
Steve,
I've got one more, but he's out 180-1.
You need to explain spike putting, and that'll get us some 5-star
Someone
reviews.
that can be losing 2 strokes, losing 1 stroke, gets to a course they like, all of a sudden they've gained 9 strokes across the week with the putter. But you'll never, ever be able to plot it statistically. And let's be frank, strokes gained putting is the most volatile strokes gained number anyway. The easiest strokes gained number to clearly rank and look at and analyse is strokes gained off the tee, which is pretty consistent. And Potgieter is just ridiculous. I think he's like number 1 club head speed, number 1 across so many of these metrics. He just lashes it. He just lashes it. But yes, as Paul said at the very start of this, he did get beat last year in a playoff at another Bombers Paradise by Campbell in a playoff. He lost to the shortest man in the field. That does beg the question, Paul. Who is your player that's completely not a bomber that you've actually backed this week?
Well, that's a fantastic segue, Steve, to my final selection, because I did want someone that kind of broke this narrative and was the complete contrarian pick. So I've backed Nico Echeverria at 100-1, who seems to have been written off despite winning the Cognizant Classic when you were on board just, 3 starts ago?
Yep.
And if you look back, when he won previous to that, he won the Zozo back in 2024. He then went very close to winning again not long after. He was second at the RSM Classic. He lost a playoff at the Sony Open at the start of the next season, so just a couple of weeks or a few weeks later. So he seemed to maintain his very competitive form, his contending form for a good few weeks afterwards. And if you look, a 32nd last year doesn't really tell a story because he was 5th at the halfway point. He shot a 63 in the second round to get into the top 5 after 36 holes. And then he was still 10th going into Sunday before just meandering along to a 32nd place finish in the end. So there's a hint there, or enough of a hint, that he can play the course. It isn't going to be as soft as it was last year. So last year it played even less into his hands in terms of the length. Should be a bit firmer this year. So yeah, I didn't expect to see him that far down the list for a player who, as you've described in the very recent past, is actually capable of getting over the line.
Oh, God, yeah. This is how you hit Ryan Fox in Canada last year. You went for the old win-win, and it worked beautifully that week. Mm-hmm. A player that clearly has won and then within a couple of outings gets the double, like Chris Gotterup did earlier this year.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of it this year, both sides of the Atlantic.
Get that.
So, yeah.
Any more from you, Barry? Have you got any long shots? Any mid prices?
I'm interested to see how Shane goes this week. So he's had the meltdown, then a couple of missed cuts, taking a week off. This could be treated as analogous to Augusta in terms of the way the course will play. So it'd be interesting to see. I haven't backed him, but that's one I'll be watching. Will Zalatoris is back.
The lesser spotted Will Zalatoris.
Yeah, well, hopefully now they're whatever minor niggles he had from attempting to come back a few weeks ago are gone.
I can't believe you're not. Wow, it's Gary Woodland. I can't believe you're not backing Gary Woodland this week, Paul.
He's on the all-time exemption list. Like I said, I don't need to back him.
Isn't he leading the driving distance charts for the season?
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
right up there, isn't he? He's absolutely bombing it at the moment.
There wouldn't be a dry eye in the house, would there? By the way, there's also a guy here, Mason Howell. Apparently, he is a very hot prospect. He won the US Amateur. So he's an interesting name. The one I've gone for is a true horse for the course. I've only thrown half a point each way at it. Paul will tell you at one point he was priced up first show on Monday at 500 to 1 with BetMGM. It didn't stick. It went within 15 minutes.
15 seconds, yeah.
Alejandro Tosti. He'll miss the cut. But second in 24 and fifth in 25. Lo and behold, he's missed about 39 cuts already this year, and then he just popped up last week and finished 31st at the Valspar. The sort. But he is he just bombs it he's an interesting story. He lost his status, and the only reason he's still playing on the PGA Tour is he managed to squeak one of those Q school places in December. So Alejandro Tosti, I got 180 to 1 with Bet365, 8 places each way. What could possibly go wrong? So I've got Tosti, Potgieter, Fox, Theo Bjornsson, Marco Penge, and Jake Knapp. Are we done?
We have to, Steve. This sounds like me gambling. What you've done this week with 6, just easy.
Cover your bases.
I'm literally bombs away you need to be around it.
This is a reaction to the Valspar last week and coming up reasonably shitty. So we're trying to catch up, right?
The other thing is you could literally. There's a whole. I'm sure people here will be, but there are so many bombers out here. You could make a case for Jimmy Stanger. Is it Stanger? Vandar, there's so many players this week. John Vanderlani bombs it. Gordon Sargent. This Christo Lambrecht, the South African, he hits it about 400 yards. There's one of these players will get in the mix. Yeah. Isaiah Salinder's another one I looked at. He literally launches it off the tee. Someone that you know very little about. I see Christopher Ventura's just been added to the field. He's another bomber. Yeah, someone's going to get involved. Or some of them. It could be plural.
It's also Sam Ryder qualified last night with a round of 60 and 12 birdies. That's fantastic effort to get into the field.
Wow.
I've just looked at driving distance, all drives, and number 169 of 169, this is the guy you want to be backing. It's Andrew Putnam. There's your winner.
The true contrarian play.
Yeah.
Andrew Putnam is going to win. And he's just been added to the field. Right, Paul. Decent event this week. A decent field as well, I thought. The Hero Indian Open. Take it away.
Yeah, it is a decent field, yeah. So the second part of our Asian swing, and as you mentioned earlier, it continues after the Masters. So no event on the DP World Tour next week. And we've got a mix of DP World Tour and PGTI, so the Indian Tour players this week. Headlined by world number 22, Akshay Bhatia, who... Well, it opened around about 10-1 places, but currently 8-1 and shortening. So his clear class compared to many of this field is being picked up by early bird punters, and he is being heavily supported at the time of writing. And I can understand why. And he's a very capable player and a very recent winner over on the PGA Tour too. So... can understand why he's getting some support. David Puig, 11-1, coming over from Liv. He had a decent finish last week. What was he, 6th last week, I think, over on the Liv Tour. Casey Jarvis, 16-1. Angel Ayora, 18-1. And then we've got a gap to the likes of Dan Bradbury, Tristan Lawrence, Nathan Kimsey, all of them around about 28-1, 30-1 bar those players. Ladbrokes and Coral gone 7 places each way as they have been recently on the DP World Tour. And if you shop about, you're going to find some extended place options with 365 and also Betfred. So do have a dig around into some of their deeper markets. I've placed some of my bets. It sounds like I've gone overboard. Placed some of my bets with those guys this week with the deeper markets. Now, we're going back to the DLF Golf and Country Club. We've seen this a few times now. It always one that sticks in the mind because it is this quirky Gary Player design. And we've seen it now since 2017. It has its lovers, it has its haters. It's a very divisive course because of the nature of the way it plays and its difficulty. And I'm sure some people would describe unfairness.
Rory wants to play this before he retires. He said that in an interview the other week. He's desperate to play this golf course.
Yeah, I'd love to play it, but I dread to think what the number would be at the back end of it. It would be absolutely astronomical.
64 golf balls lost.
It would be an expensive excursion, I know that much. But it's a stunning course, and always one I look forward to watching. Just you got to watch it from behind the back of the sofa or your fingers in front of your eyes because it's just brutal in places. So we've got form going back to 2017. There's also a smattering of PGTI events that have been held here, and I've also included those on the stats pages this week, so you can have a fuller view of who may have played well on this course in the past. In terms of its spec, it's a 7,416 yard par 72 Parkland affair. It actually stretches to nearly 7.7, but they do take a little bit of pity on the players when they tee it up here and they shorten it by 300 yards or so. There's loads of teeing areas, so they can and often do play around with the yardage. So don't take that as gospel. You might find some days it's closer to 7.1, 7.2. They really do mix things up. Famous for its bunkering, huge bunkers you've seen pictures of, I'm sure. Huge elevation changes too, large greens, Bermuda grass greens. Got a mix of 2 nines. There's much more water on the front 9. You've got the par 3 fifth, which is to an island green, and then you've got the quarry 9, which is the back 9, which is just framed slightly different. It's a tough test usually. Bogeys and doubles are possible on literally every hole if you're just slightly out of position. So you need, as a punter, I think as a player, but also as a punter, you need to have a thick skin this week, because if your player starts double bogey on the first hole of Thursday, which many will, it doesn't mean that their tournament's over. And we've seen players make triples and quads here and still go on to contend and ultimately win. It is that kind of course. Now, the weather's set fair, hot, kind of mid-90s Fahrenheit, maybe even getting close to 100 degrees at times, so it will be hot. 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, so enough to keep them honest without being excessive. I think if it was absolutely roasting and blowing 25, 30, then I dread to think what the numbers again would be here. The winners here on the DP World Tour since we've been playing it on this particular track. 2017 was SSP Chowrasia. He got to 10 under and was 80 to 1. Matt Wallace won the year after at 11 under 66s. Stephen Gallagher 9 under at 150 to 1. That was in 2019. Then we had a break for 4 years. Then we saw Marcel Siem, Keita Nakajima, and last year Eugenio Shakira win at 14, 17 and 4 under par respectively, all of them between 33 and 45 to 1. So there is some similarity in the kind of price point of the winners. They tend to be mid-price or longer here. So worth bearing in mind, of course, trends are there to be absolutely smashed as we see regularly, but I would be a little wary about backing some of the guys at the very top given the history that we've seen here and the vagaries of this course. Statistics, if you go back and through look at some of the stats for these events that have been played here, they are really patchy, unfortunately. Nothing at all was recorded for last year's winner, Eugenio Shakira. No strokes gained data, no regular old-fashioned data either. So it really is quite patchy. And of course, for the PGTI events, you've got even less than some of the DP World Tour events that have been held here. Anyway, from what you can glean, or what I can glean between the events where we do have some numbers, you either need to hit as many greens as you possibly can, or you need to scramble like an SSP Chowrasia, Chipazia type player. Anything in between, it's simply not going to work. You're simply going to make too many bogeys. Finding the right part of the greens here is also important because they are large, they are fast. It puts you firmly into 3-putt territory if you're out of position, even on the greens. So approach play when you do find the fairway is key. And if you're going to win, you're going to need to putt well too. Of the 3 winners where we do have strokes gained stats, they ranked 13th, 4th and 1st for strokes gained putting. That 13th was Stephen Gallagher, and we know or will remember from Stevie Gallagher's game that putting really wasn't his forte, but on his way to victory he did rank 13th. So that needs to be thrown into the mix as well. Current form's variable from our winners. Shakira had finished in the top 6 in 3 of his last 4 starts. So he was eminently gettable last year. I'm really disappointed I didn't pick him up, actually. Whereas Gallagher, back in 2019, he'd missed 4 cuts on the trot coming into this. So complete opposites there. Course form's patchy too. Shakira had finished 5th in a PGA Tour or PGA TI event here prior to winning. Most of the other winners had either made their debut or had very little form here when they won. The only other exception is Stephen Gallagher, who had finished 7th here prior to winning. So, yeah, mixed bag. I think, if I'm going to give you any advice, it would be, as I said, buckle up, as it's likely to be a pretty rocky ride this week. But an enjoyable one if you can take the course and the event for what it is. Now, I've backed 4 this week. I'll rattle through them because I'm wary that we've been talking for quite some time already. I've not backed Batir or Pooj. They're both making their debuts. I'm not sure that the course overly suits either of them either. And turning up to this and seeing it for the first time could be it could throw things out for the pair of them. As I said, the winners have tended to be kind of in the 30, 33 to 1 or longer bracket, and that's where I've pitched my team. Starting with Jorge Campillo. He was 33s yesterday. Actually, he's been nibbled into 30s overnight, but that's still available at the time of writing. Experienced Spaniard will be 40 in June, and he's got the attitude and ability, I think, to play tougher tests like this. He won the Trophée Hassan II back in 2019 at 9 under, The Qatar Masters in 2020 won at 13 under. Qatar tends to be quite a challenging tournament nowadays. Third and fourth here at DLF over the years. Also second at the event, the Masters, an old event that used to be run in India back in the early 2010s. 11th at the India Championship last October as well. And rounding into some really good form actually. 18th in Joburg, 2nd to Gumberg last week. And if you look back through at how Campillo has won, 2 of his 3 wins have come off the back of a top 4 finish or better on his previous start. So the fact that he did come close last week, I think we've got to take as a positive, kind of a Matt Fitzpatrick positive rather than a negative. So Campillo's in for me. I've also backed Frederic Lacroix at 50s. He's another one with solid form in India. Progressive form here of 56, 21, 13. Also got a couple of decent finishes in PGTI events, 11th and 5th over the years here, or in India generally. And it's generally with Lacroix, it's the putting that lets him down. So it has been interesting that he's putting better than his long-term average right now. In fact, in South Africa on his penultimate start, he was 8th for strokes gained putting, and that's his best performance with the flat stick for well over a year actually. Missed the cut last week, but prior to that, 9th in Kenya, 2nd in South Africa. He won the 2024 Danish Golf Championship by 4 strokes when only 3 players managed to get to double digits under par. So I don't think a tougher test will be any issue for him. Frederic Lacroix. Same price, also backed Adrian Otaegui, 50 to 1. He opened up, and I was absolutely shocked by this. He opened up at 80s in some places yesterday, and he was one of the players very much on my shortlist from the outset with this. Couldn't believe 80s. It soon got gobbled up. It was just frankly the wrong price. So he's settled now 45 50s, but I still think that's more than fair. This is a guy that's won 5 times on tour. Included in that was a 6-shot victory at Valderrama. So that tells you something about being able to play the tougher tests on the on the circuit. 11th here in 2019. And is coming in with some really eye-catching current form. 6th at the South African Open, 6th in Joburg, 3rd last week at the Hainan Classic. And we've seen him win off progressive form in the past. Echoes Echeverria's form from last year, that recent form. So, yeah, again, no reason not to back Otaegui at 50s this week. A final one, Bernd Wiesberger. I backed at 100 to 1 with 8 places. There's a little bit of 110s out there if you want to go for fewer places, but I took the 8. And he seems to be one of those players that I think could be, could have a final flourish on the tour before he hangs up his golfing shoes. One of those who went to the live circuit right at the very start, and he was there for a couple of years, didn't really go to plan, and he's trying to make a go of it again now on the DP World Tour. He's here this week on a career money list exemption, so I'm sure he'd much rather be playing off a regular exemption by virtue of how he's playing. But this is a guy, don't forget, he won 8 titles on the DP World Tour, 2 of which were at Rolex Series level. So at the age of 40, I think there's still scope for him to maybe have a final flourish. Certainly we saw Marcel Siem win this in his 40s, and Stevie Gallagher too was no spring chicken winning here. So perhaps it does serve or lend itself to the more experienced types. Comes into this with finishes at 14th at the South African Open and 12th at Joburg. Some strong long game stats as well. 23rd here in 2019. I think he's the sort that a 3-figure price could sneak into the frame. We shall see. Wiesberger, Otaegui, Frederic Lacroix and Jorge Campillo are my 4 this week. So Barry, having splurged all of your money on the PGA Tour event, have you saved anything for this one?
Have I decided to play blind acid roulette? No. Not right now. I don't know what to do. I might hold off and do something in running just to see who hasn't started with a quad. I think even starting with a double might put you in the top 20 of the leaderboard. So it's a roller coaster. Nobody's and it's the I don't know, the wild nature of the course means there's very few guys with solid records here. And even if you have a solid record here, you could still get annihilated, chewed up, spat out, and ejected without warning. So
it's bad.
In theory, this should be the event of the season for me. How crazy it is, but I'm a little bit, uncertain about what to do. So I think I might hold off and just put a bet or two on and running.
Yeah, I can see the attraction of not placing a bet until you've looked at that first leaderboard on Thursday morning, because with the time difference, by the time that I will log in, I tend to start looking at the leaderboard from the bottom up, and that can be quite a disheartening thing to do with this particular tournament. But let I'll be strong. We've got the winner this week. We've got the winner. About you, Steve? Anything in this?
I like your Campillo selection. He's very obvious, but he's clearly playing some good stuff. He does win grinds, doesn't he?
Yes.
The one I selected, I did notice with Chakara that he'd been hitting lots of greens in the build-up before taking this out, which makes logical sense on this course. I've gone for Brandon Thompson-Robinson. First time I've ever backed him, probably the last. I got 70-1 with Boyle Sports, 6 places each way. 17th last year. He was 15th at the India Championship in October, so he doesn't mind playing in India. Second, a couple of weeks ago at Joburg. 23rd at Hainan Classic last week, which isn't kind of his bag, I'd have thought. Bearing in mind that tends to be more like a bomber's course, although clearly Gumberg wasn't. But what he is doing at the moment, he's hitting fairways and greens. He's been 19th and 8th for greens and reg last two, and that translates to top 13 ball striking on both. And he's a decent scrambler, and so we know that there's going to need to be plenty of that this week. So Brandon Thompson-Robinson for me at 70-1.
Yeah, I couldn't put you off. It was, I'm sure it was this kind of time, the early part of last year, where he came to life for a period of time and then kind of dropped away again. So perhaps there's a biorhythm element to the way that he plays as well.
I think we're done, chaps. Good luck with your bets this week.
Best luck, boys.
You too, boys.
Best of luck to listeners. Don't forget the 5-star reviews. We're desperate for them. Also, the 5-star button on Spotify if you've made it this far. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel and, of course, like the video. Right, we'll see you again next week for the Valero Texas Open. See you soon.
If you like betting on golf, but everyone that you back misses the cut, get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more, 'cause it's the golf betting system, the golf